everybody, Sensei Steve here, and I just wanted to discuss another lesson learned in the 50 years that I've been doing martial arts and the 35 plus years that I have operated Hiscoe Jiu-Jitsu, from the very first step in my journey to the next step where that motorcycle accident I talked about, not mine, but somebody else's, really was an opportunity. And this time what I want to talk about is how relationships build businesses, right? Relationships build businesses. And for me, that has been huge in the success of my school. You know what? Having those relationships, knowing people is what is going to create opportunities for you, right? So when I first started, I talked about Ted Gosling, right? So although that wasn't a relationship right away, it built into one. And as well with the instructors at the Abbotsford Karate Club. So when I talk about Ted, and I talk about Joe Worley, who is the head instructor there, and Paul Sexton, who is also one of the instructors there. And through them, and through building that sort of relationship with them, is that opened up other avenues. So having that relationship with the Abbotsford Karate Club introduced me to other karate people. And of course, coming from a jiu-jitsu background, that allowed me to start teaching them some jiu-jitsu and getting my name sort of out there. And then at the same time, one of the other students that I had met was Balin Morthy. And he was a high school teacher, phys ed teacher at Yale Secondary in Abbotsford. And he allowed me to come and teach classes to some of the phys ed students during the time there when I was working as an RCMP member in Abbotsford. And then through that relationship, that again got my name out into the community as a self-defense instructor, as a jiu-jitsu instructor. And then another gentleman by the name of George Perry. And George Perry was a judo black belt, but he was also the principal at Yale Secondary. So building that relationship with him, I was able to, on an ongoing basis, rent the high school gym at Yale Secondary, and that became kind of a base for my classes, right? And again, starting to expand. So we had karate people that were training with us, but now I started getting the civilians, the non-karate people coming to train with us as well. And when I was training in karate, I met my first business partner, actually my only business partner, Erd Flavel. Funny story, I was throwing some kicks. He had been doing Taekwondo previously, liked the way that I was kicking, and he was like, come and kick me, come and kick me. So anyways, a funny interaction, but that's kind of a more in-person conversation. So Erd and I struck up a friendship. We ended up opening a martial arts store called the Black Belt Shop in Abbotsford together, which then led to our full-time school opening. But prior to our full-time school opening, I had also met Mr. Suda. And Mr. Suda was the head instructor at the Abbotsford Judo Club. So he allowed me to rent space at the Judo Club a couple of days or a couple of hours a week. If I recall, it could have been like a Friday night and a Sunday. So building that relationship with the Abbotsford Judo Club, because I taught there for several years. And also with John Parker, who owned National Martial Arts in downtown Abbotsford. And for a short time, I rented space from him. So building those relationships and those connections allowed me to slowly start my school until Aaron and I decided that we were going to try and open a full-time school, which we did. And I believe that was probably mid to late 90s. And so we opened a full-time school. And that school ran for several years and we had some success, but I didn't know what I was doing. And we were just dumping money into the school, but the school wasn't making money. So we made a decision to close the school at that time. I'll talk about that another day. We closed the school, and it was very heartbreaking, sorry to do that, but it was a necessary evil at the time. But that didn't stop me. I also had a relationship with one of my students who had a detached garage, Lauren Olson, and I started teaching out of his garage because he had converted that into a home dojo. So we just kind of kept a real small core of students and kept teaching there. Now, in the meantime, I was having a family. They were young, and the drive back and forth didn't mesh with sort of family life. And you got to understand, I was also working as a full-time police officer, and I was working shift work at the time. So I was working 2 days, 2 nights, 4 days off. I taught all my classes, almost all, unless class was actually while I was supposed to be working, but I tried to manage all of that. So I was doing both at the same time. Then what I did is I stopped teaching for a small amount of time, and I joined the Valley Shidokan Karate Club. So the instructor there is Sensei Don Sharp. We had known each other for many years. I had approached him about going and training with him and his club, which he sort of said yes. And then eventually I started teaching or renting that dojo to keep teaching jiu-jitsu. And Sensei Don was amazing to me. They ended up moving to a new location, but they made sure that I was welcome to join them in their new location, which I followed. And I always felt like I was part of the dojo, not just a renter. But again, I tried to do as much as I could for the dojo as well, and keeping that sort of relationship going. And it was at that point where I had built up enough of a following, enough of a student base, and also a financial nest egg, if you want to call it that, where I decided that I was going to open my full-time school. And that was in September of 2011. So coming up on 15 years. But the message here is that relationships build business. And for me, having those relationships all the way through the past 35 years and looking after those relationships, and I'm still friends with many of those people, has given me the opportunity to now have had a successful dojo for the last 15 years, and it continues to grow. Not simply because of advertising, that's part of it now. Never just about luck, because I will tell you that I have worked, and I have worked hard to build my school, but really it's been about relationships. And now it's developing relationships with our student base, because another relationship that I'm working on is with the marketing and consulting company that I work with Seven Figure Dojo and Jennifer Waters, and that team is building that relationship. And it has also allowed me to continue to grow. And one of the things that I learned is that people don't quit an activity, or people quit an activity. It's a lot harder to quit a relationship. So building relationships with your student base, with your instructors, is going to go way farther. So for this episode, relationships build businesses. So be a good relationship builder, be engaged in those relationships, not just taking, but also giving back.